Holy shit, guys. This is real. This actually happened. Hey guys, the Black Critic Guy, and today's video is a very special review of the historical crossover episode between The Simpsons and Family Guy known as The Simpsons Guy. So the Simpsons Guy episode starts off with the Griffin family because this is the season premiere for Family Guy, just in case if you guys didn't know that. And it starts off with the family all gathered in the living room, and Peter comes through the door and starts complaining about the comic strips in the newspapers and decides, you know what? I'm gonna start drawing comic strips, which I personally saw as a clever wink at Matt Groening, who started off as a comic strip artist before creating The Simpsons. Huh? See what they did there? So Peter begins to draw comic strips, and needless to say, they start to piss off a lot of people, particularly those of a female persuasion. So in order to escape the backlash that his comic strips have been getting, the family decides to leave town for a while until everything blows over. But while in the process of leaving town, somebody steals their car, leaving them stranded in Springfield, where they just happen to bump into The Simpsons. And from there, it plays out exactly as you would expect. The members of the Griffin family interacting with the members of the Simpson family and a plethora of other characters in Springfield. Now last year, when I heard that they were actually going to do a Simpsons Family Guy crossover, my mind, it was blown. I could not believe that they were actually going forward on it. I could not believe that they were actually going to bring these two families together in 1 hour long episode special. In fact, I didn't believe it for a very long time. I personally thought that it was another fake news story that they tricked us before with, saying that, oh, Family Guy and The Simpsons, they're gonna be in an episode together. You know, another fake news story to get people to click on the link, but it's actually nothing, or it's just a lie. They're not really gonna do it. Until I saw actual stills from the episode itself. The first ones being a fight between Homer and Peter, which, I mean, I got a little excited. And then I saw Bart with Stewie. I was like, wow. All doubt disappeared when I saw the 5-minute preview of The Simpsons Guy. And I got really excited, guys. I could not wait to see the episode. September could not come any sooner. And I saw it in July, so I was just like counting down the days until I finally saw this epic clash between these two families. And last night, I finally got to see this monumental episode. And what did I think of it? I personally really enjoyed watching the episode. Is it the best episode ever? Is it the greatest crossover ever? Not really. I mean, it does have its fair share of flaws, but for what they gave us and for what I wanted to see, I felt like they most certainly delivered. The first thing that I really liked about this episode was just how faithful it was to both series, Family Guy and Simpsons. From its comedic delivery to its characters, it remained faithful to both shows. And for me personally, I found it mesmerizing to actually see on screen the Griffins walking in the town of Springfield and interacting with the various characters that reside in the town, particularly the Simpsons themselves. Kind of in the same vein as how the episode was very respectful to both series, the humor in this episode I felt was very spot on. Very Family Guy-esque, but also very Simpsons-esque. And the humor in this episode was made all the better whenever you would see the two distinct styles of comedy clash with each other. There were two moments in the episode where the clash was very visible. The first one being Bart and Stewie's prank phone calls. You can definitely see the difference between how Bart makes a prank phone call to how Stewie makes a prank phone call. One is more innocent, playful, and old school, while the other one is more darker, more morbid, more off-colored, and more mean. And the second time we see this clash come into play is actually at the dinner scene where Homer and Peter are talking to each other, and Peter starts to set Homer up for a cutaway joke, but Homer isn't really familiar with this format of telling jokes because there aren't a lot of cutaway jokes on The Simpsons, so he's just looking at Peter like, what are you talking about? Like, why are you gesturing to me like this? And I thought that was really hilarious. And that was also in the preview as well. That really sold it for me because you get to see this clash. It's so interesting. Most of the interactions between the individual family members from both sides were handled very well and had really good pairings. Of course, you got the obvious Homer being paired up with Peter. And again, it was really nice to see them bond, but also get into that really epic fist fight at the end. And of course you got Bart pairing up with Stewie, and you get to see this interesting clash of personality, how Bart is very different from Stewie, and I've been saying this for a very long time. They are nothing alike. Yeah, they share that whole bad boy mentality of their era, but they're not similar at all. The side story with Brian and Santa's Little Helper was well executed, and the situation that they and Chris end up in was very, very humorous. Especially Chris's celebrity impressions, that was just gold. But the one pairing and side story besides Homer and Peter and Bart and Stewie that I really liked, truly appreciated, and found to be the most heartwarming and touching side stories in the entire episode was the interaction between Lisa and Meg, the two daughters from each family. And their side story basically follows Lisa as she tries to boost Meg's confidence by finding some sort of hidden talent within her. I just love the execution, the delivery, and the ending of this side story. And they, in my opinion, had the most unique and even the strongest bond in the entire episode between any of the other members of the family. I liked their relationship. It was pretty interesting, although I felt like they dropped the ball in the middle. Something happens in the middle between the two that I felt like they could have explored a little bit more, but instead they just focused on Homer and Peter or Bart and Stewie, which is fine, but they could have focused a little bit more on Lisa and Meg. Lisa is my favorite Simpson character, so having her get more focus or attention, or seeing her bond with Meg more, that would have been nice. But the way that their side story ended, I found very satisfying, very touching, and so true to Lisa's character. And of course, we got all the obvious parts, like the animation, which was solid in this episode. But one thing that I want to give attention to dealing with the animation is just how seamlessly these two different animation styles blended so well together. I mean, I was never distracted at how different the characters looked. They just meshed so well together. And then we got the voice acting. Excellent from each and every one of the voice actors in this episode. Everyone did a perfect job portraying their characters and doing it very well. And the last two things that I absolutely enjoyed about this crossover episode was, first off, Duff versus Pa Tucket. I thought that this whole scenario was handled so well. It was just so clever, pointing out the various criticisms of both shows while hiding it under the guise of their favorite beers, or the beers that they're known for in their own shows. I thought it was so well crafted, and the courtroom scene dealing with the whole Duff versus Pa Tucket, that entire scene was so good. So good. And who the judge was? Perfect. And the second last thing that I really enjoyed was the epic fight between Homer and Peter. Something that a lot of us were waiting to see, and they did not disappoint. This is probably one of the most epic, well done fights in any Family Guy episode I've ever seen. And the way that it ends is a bit confusing for some. I mean, it was confusing to me because I don't know how it truly ended. I'm leaning towards a tie, but I'm not quite sure. I leave it up to what you guys think. Do you think it was a tie, or did you think there was a definite winner? But this monumental crossover episode isn't without its fair share of problems, and it does have quite a few. The first and biggest problem that this crossover episode had was the complete wasted opportunity to have an interesting interaction between Marge and Lois. Talk about dropping the ball, guys. We barely get to see these two bond with each other or do any sort of interacting outside of the family setting, like just them two doing something. They actually do go out to watch a movie together, but we never see it. It's just told to us by Lois and Marge as well. I would have just loved to see these two kind of bond, swap stories about motherhood and how they handle certain situations with their family, their stupid husbands. Kind of see them connect and bond by the similarities that they share. None of that. Nothing. They drop the ball on that. The most obvious thing. Like, I don't understand. Of all the things to drop the ball on, you drop it on Lois and Marge? God. All the other stories besides Homer and Peter's story were extremely rushed. A lot of them having a beginning, a little middle, but not so much, and then an abrupt end. And lastly, some of the self-referential humor that I did enjoy at first just started to come off as very daunting and repetitive. Like, I get it, you're in a crossover episode, and you're poking fun at the fact that you're in a crossover episode, but you don't have to beat me over the head with it. I mean, seriously, they make like 20 different self-referential jokes to the fact that they're in a crossover episode. I get it! And this is more of me just venting, but I would have loved to see like Stewie and Maggie share a moment together. Not something really long like they have to spend the entire episode together, but come on, they are the babies of the family and they don't even share one scene together. Again, wasted opportunity. Just a brief moment, a quick exchange between them would have been nice and it would have sufficed. To completely ignore it is kind of like, really? You couldn't even give us a small glimmer? But now that I think about it, no crossover is without its faults, without some baggage. There are going to be some elements that you felt like could have been incorporated more into the crossover from both sides, from both shows. There are going to be some characters that you felt like could have been added to the crossover to add more flair to it, or to add their own piece, or character interactions that you would have loved to have seen. But that's just the casualties of doing crossovers. There are going to be some missing parts because it's only a bit of the show that's interacting with another bit of the show. And at the end of the day, we should just be happy that we were able to see these two prominent families interact with each other for the first and probably the last time. And that is what I honestly take away from this crossover. Sure, it does have its fair share of problems, but what crossover doesn't? It still made me laugh. I enjoyed seeing the interactions between the characters, and it was just overall fun. So I give the Simpsons Family Guy crossover a 4 out of 5 stars. I think that it is definitely worth watching, especially fans of the Simpsons and Family Guy. But anyway, what did you guys think about this crossover special? Did you really enjoy it? Did you get a kick out of it? Or were you really let down and disappointed by it? And let me know, what is your favorite crossover special? It could be a crossover between 2 TV shows, 2 animes, 2 movies, what have you. Comment below and let me know. And stay tuned, I hope to have my anime review out tomorrow. If I finish it today, I'm praying to God that I finish it today. So cross your fingers that I finish it today. And stay tuned, Horror Month will be in full swing in 2 days. And until then, guys, if you are new to my channel, hit that subscribe button, like this video if you really enjoyed it, share this video with all your friends, and I am Tony Wilder II, the Black Critic Guy. Till then, peace, YouTube.
Wow.